What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. Fireside Giants, powered by BetUS today, talking about reasons to be optimistic for the New York Giants this season. Now, a lot of you might not be super optimistic. That's why we want to highlight some reasons for you to feel a little happy and a little bit lighter going into Week 1 this weekend. Giants versus Vikings, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Giants celebrating their 100th year anniversary. Why should we be optimistic about this team? Now, there are definitely reasons to be pessimistic. We will admit that. It was not the year that we planned for in 2023, but that's in the past, baby. That's behind us. Now we're going into a new season, anniversary season for the Giants. Maybe there are reasons to be pessimistic, but there are also reasons to be optimistic. Some young rookies who are really exciting. Some improvements that were made in free agency, via trade as well. There is a lot to like for this Giants team and a lot to follow along with and be happy about. So we're going to go ahead and discuss those things, reasons to be optimistic for the Giants in this upcoming season, and just have some fun as we get ready for Week 1 tonight. We got some Ravens, we got some Chiefs action. I'm super excited for that. Alex, how are you feeling? Football's back. We're getting some betting going tonight. We're watching some real NFL football. And of course, we got the Giants playing this weekend.
Yeah, let's freaking go, dude. We got some football tonight. I woke up like feeling the energy of a new football season. And guys, I know a lot of people in the comments saying we've been really pessimistic lately. Just trying to be honest and real, but hey, we're still Giants fans. Don't forget, we do think there's some really good parts of this team, and I really want to highlight the things that I am most excited to watch and Anthony's most excited to watch. Obviously, with a game tonight and then on tomorrow night as well in Brazil. Lots of football this weekend. I know a lot of people, a lot of wives, a lot of girlfriends. Not going to see much of their men this weekend. So, okay, I got my 2 weeks notice into my wife already. We're good to go. The whole season, man. It's like literally 1 p.m. to about 4 p.m. I'm out of commission. If the Giants are playing in the evening, you might as well not. You might as well just I might as well be a ghost. Not even there. It's great though. I love football season. So much fun. Hopefully we have a good one this year. A lot better than last. But in any case, we're all football fans as well as Giants fans. So, Anthony, I'll let you cover this little sponsorship promotion we're doing today. Really, really fun. But, just to keep you guys informed, YouTube 150 is the new promo code. It'll be in the description and in the comment section. So, really good 150% match on BetUS. And, Anthony, I know you have a good bet for us today.
I do. I'm really excited for this Ravens versus Chiefs game. I have been called in the past a closeted Ravens fan because I do love Lamar Jackson. I'm very excited to watch him play tonight, and I'm excited for this game because I think there are going to be a lot of points scored. Now, obviously, some might debate that because the last time the Chiefs and the Ravens faced off against each other was in the postseason. They only combined for 27 total points. But I'm taking the over on total points in this game, 47 points over at minus 110 on BetUS. I love this bet because, like I mentioned, playoff game, 27 combined scored, but look at the previous 4 matchups between this team, dating back to 2018 when Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes took over as the starters of their respective teams. 24-7, 28-33, 20-34, 36-35 in their most recent regular season matchup. Every time these two teams face, points get flying up on the scoreboard. Chiefs offense loaded. They added Xavier Worthy. They've got Rashee Rice, who's in for a big year, Travis Kelce, and obviously Patrick Mahomes. And then the Ravens, they were explosive last year. They averaged over 28 points per game as an offense. And they've got Lamar Jackson. They've got an elite rushing attack. Mark Andrews is playing. He's healthy. This is going to be a fun game. I'm super excited. So I'm going to throw a little 10-ski down on this bet here. Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs over 47 total points, minus 110. Let's make that money, baby. Let's go. And let's talk about the New York Giants as well. Let's get right back into it. Giants versus Vikings, Week 1. Alex, I know who you're optimistic about. I know who all the fans are optimistic about. I'm optimistic about Malik Nabers, baby. Number 1. They unretired a jersey number for the kid. He's special, baby. Malik Nabers. Let's go.
Yeah, no, Malik Nabers. And I can't wait for everyone to cheer Leak when he scores his first touchdown. It'll be really fun. But look, I actually was just reading today, I think Dan Duggan of The Athletic posted about Brian Daboll's offense, what we expect from him. Apparently, Brian Daboll has a sheet on the back of his kind of play sheet, is a whole box basically allocated to the player they want to feed the ball to, and that's going to be Malik Nabers. When he gets hot, if he starts going crazy, they're going to force him the football. They're going to make sure that he is the peak, the pinnacle, the catalyst on that offense. He's going to eat, man. And listen, we saw what they did with Saquon. They fed him the rock when he was on fire. They fed the rock to OBJ many years ago. Obviously, that was before Daboll's time here. But, look at what the Bills did with Stephon Diggs. Like, they fed him. When Gabe Davis was having a big game, they fed him. And I think that they're going to do the same thing with Malik Nabers. If you're a fantasy football guy, I know most people have probably drafted their teams already, but Nabers is going to get a lot of targets. If you're a sports bettor, like we just did the promo, Nabers is going to get a ton of targets this year. If you're into the receptions game, which I am, I love Nabers for 4 or 5 receptions a game at least. I think he's going to crush those lines. Get a couple of really, in every game you're going to guarantee he's going to get at least 2 or 3 deep balls too. So I do think there are really going to be some good opportunities for him. But he is like one of those guys. He's the future of this team. Like, he's 21 years old. We have this guy for possibly a decade. Now we have to develop him into that superstar, right? You don't just come into the league a superstar. You got to take, developmental leaps. Even the best players, a lot of times, need to take those growth steps. And I think Malik Nabers has some stuff to iron out, some route running stuff, understanding the offense, just kind of adapting to the NFL, the physicality, speed, agility of all of it. So, right now, it's about getting him the reps, giving him the football, watching what he can do, building his confidence. A player like Malik Nabers, and really a player like Deonte Banks too, those guys need reasons to be confident. They need to be built up mentally as well as physically. So, Nabers, if he's balling, he's going to want the ball. He's going to demand the ball. And that's what we've been waiting for. Not a guy who's running freaking cardio out there waiting for a chance. We want a guy who's going to be like, give me the damn ball and I'm going to make something freaking happen. And Malik Nabers is exactly that type of player. I want the ball. Give me the ball. You want a first down? Give me the ball. You want a touchdown? Give me the ball. You want a big play? Give me the freaking football. That's what he's going to do for this offense, Anthony. I imagine you feel the same way.
Of course I feel the same way. I am so excited for Malik Nabers in this season. I really liked the info that you were just bringing to the table. I hadn't seen that yet about Brian Daboll and his play sheet, so I was looking that up and trying to read a little bit more about that. That's exciting stuff. And I've said this many times. The X factor to this offense is how different does it look with Daboll calling the plays versus when Kafka was calling the plays? Are we getting more deep shots? Are we getting more aggressive? Is it going to be more of a run-heavy offense or a pass-heavy offense? I don't think we truly know that because with Brian Daboll, I feel like he's very adaptive. I've brought this up before in the past when discussing Daboll and his play calling, but there was a great study done by PFF when Josh Allen had that breakout 2020 season, and they basically broke down all of the different ways that the playbook changed from 2019 into 2020, the changes that Brian Daboll made to be the catalyst to Josh Allen's success. He pretty much stripped down the entire playbook, started from scratch that 2020 season, and implemented a whole new offense to maximize the skill set of Josh Allen, and that led to that big breakout for him. So I wonder if we see something similar. Like, does this offense even look anything like what we saw last year? Are they running the same concepts and formations? Or are they totally changing things up? Are they totally re-emphasizing the rushing game and rebalancing their splits between passing and rushing? It's totally possible. So I'm excited to see that, but nevertheless, we know we're going to get a heavy dosage of Malik Nabers week in and week out. What he showed on the practice field all summer was magical. Like, we had beat writers, Alex. We had guys like Connor Hughes and Art Stapleton tweeting saying, this is the best practice we've seen from a Giants player since 2014, since Odell Beckham Jr. when he was a rookie. Like, that's how these guys were talking about Nabers and what he was doing throughout the summer. And not only that, turn on that film. If you didn't see my film breakdown on Malik Nabers in that week 2 preseason game, go check it out because I broke down some of the nuances of the things that he did. It wasn't just those 2 highlight grabs, contested grabs that he had on the sidelines. Alex, some of those plays that he had, those routes that he was running were just so impressive. But he is such a skilled route runner. He's going to be open all the time. And this is where everybody says, well, who's throwing him the football? How can he have 1,000 yards with Daniel Jones throwing the football? Guys, some of these wide receivers in the NFL are idiot-proof. It doesn't matter who is throwing them the football. Look at Justin Jefferson. And that ties right into this week 1 matchup with the Giants and Deonte Banks, all that fun stuff. Justin Jefferson had 4 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball last year, and he still went for 1,000 receiving yards in 10 games. Now, that's Justin Jefferson. He's the best receiver in the NFL. But scale that down. Malik Nabers shouldn't have 4 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball this year. He should have 17-game sample size of hopefully 1 quarterback, 2 at the most, throwing him the football. So we should be able to get stable production out of him because he is so good. He doesn't need to be Justin Jefferson good to succeed. He just needs to be Malik Nabers good. He's his own player, and he's going to get a lot of targets, and he's going to be the engine that drives this offense. It's not going to be a Saquon offense. It's going to be a Nabers offense, and I'm hyped for it. Wide receiver is my favorite position to watch in the NFL, and I am ready to watch Malik Nabers feast on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays. But Alex, what's your next reason for optimism? Because I know we kind of mentioned two there. Like we talked about Nabers being just an exciting player. We also talked about Brian Daboll, the new play calling, how that's going to look. Give me another one. What are you really excited to see this season?
Honestly, I want to see the offensive line. I'm excited on paper. We talked about in the live stream last night with Authentic and Diggy. Like, this offensive line is better on paper. John Runyon is a above average left guard in pass protection. Jermaine Luminor is a slightly above average right tackle. Greg Van Roten's better than anything we could have imagined at right guard last season, even though I think he's really a backup on a better team. But, for what we have, he's a solid player with chemistry with Carmen Brasillo and Jermaine Luminor. And JMS is coming off a season where not only was he injured, but he also had a rotation of guys around him that were changing every week. Like, how do you grow? How do you develop as a rookie like that? So, I think that there is more synergy. This team's operating as a unit in the offensive line, and Brasillo brings more of a unit mentality, not an individual mentality. Guys aren't surviving out there. They're playing as one. And that's what the offensive line really starts. I think, Harbaugh said a really good thing about the offensive line. Receivers depend on the quarterback. Receivers depend on the offensive line. The quarterback depends on the offensive line. The running back depends on the offensive line. But the offensive line is the only position in football where they don't rely on anybody else to succeed. They have to succeed. Like, they, as a unit, have to be good, and everybody else benefits. So I do think that right now, if you are the Giants, if you're a fan, we just want to see some growth and progress there. Trend in the right direction. It's been years of, honestly, I don't even think we've taken any big steps forward. We've just been going backward every single season, like worse than we thought it could ever get. Last year, I honestly couldn't imagine a worse season than last year, but I can't even say anything anymore about it. But at the end of the day, I do think that we're going to see progress. I do think that this is a much different unit with different personnel, with different players, different coaching that is going to help us trend better. So, what are your thoughts on the offensive line? That is a position I'm going to be watching very closely as usual, and most Giants fans will be in the same boat.
No doubt. I think this offensive line made just, you can't even quantify the upgrades in some ways, right? Because when you're looking at last year's offensive line, well, which one, right? Because the Giants had how many different offensive line configurations on the field last year? You want to talk about the unit as a whole, that's one thing. But if you want to look at this starting five versus last season's week one starting five, I mean, it's not even comparable. You're talking Mark Glowinski and Ben Bredesen starting at guard and Evan Neal at right tackle. Take all three of those guys out, put John Runyon Jr., Jermaine Luminor, and Greg Van Roten in. On paper, the upgrades are substantial. And then think about the fact that week one offensive line from 2023 that I just mentioned, with Bredesen, Glowinski, and Neal out there, I mean, that was not the week 17 offensive line. That wasn't even the week 5 offensive line with all of the injuries that this team endured. So the reason for optimism is that this Giants offensive line is healthy. They made upgrades, and they got a great offensive line coach. Carmen Brasillo is, on paper, throughout his NFL career, one of the best coaches, offensive line coaches in the league. He has had success with the Patriots years ago. He had tremendous success with the Raiders over the last 2 seasons. He has built units, and it might take some time. I'm not saying that the Giants are going to have a top 10 offensive line. Maybe not even top 15, but top 20? Absolutely reasonable. And guys, when you're comparing top 32 to top 20, that 12-team jump in rankings on an offensive line is so significant, like so crucial. And we say that all the time, Alex. I would much rather have an average right tackle in Jermaine Luminor, because I think he is about average to slightly above. I would much rather have a league average offensive tackle than the lowest ranked, least efficient pass protecting right tackle in the NFL, because that does an insane amount of positive reinforcement to your offensive line. Like, it is unquantifiable how much better below average to average is when talking about the offensive line. So I have a lot of reason for optimism for this unit. Again, it's not going to be a game-breaking, elite, 3 All-Pro unit, but it might have 1 All-Pro and maybe even another Pro Bowler sneaks out of there. Who knows? But it should be a pretty good offensive line in comparison to what we've seen in years past, and that should hopefully allow Daniel Jones to sling the rock to Malik Nabers and create some touchdowns. Alex, I'm gonna ask you a little bit of a toughie here, okay? I'm gonna ask you a question. I want to hear your answer. Give me one reason to be optimistic in Daniel Jones going into this upcoming season. What is it that tells you maybe he hasn't had a lot of success in recent years? Maybe he's coming off of this injury. Why and how can he bounce back?
For me, it's really simple. 2 years ago, we were talking about how good Daniel Jones was at throwing the deep ball, right? What happened to that player? What happened to him? that suddenly he went from one of the most efficient deep ball passers in the game to one of the least efficient. Well, you could point to the offensive line, you could point to the receivers, you could point to anything, really. There's a myriad of different variables, but that's where I want to see him improve. I want to see him make those throws, do what he was supposed to, do what we were so optimistic about 2 years ago, the upside, the progress that we saw. He's going to have the talent. He already does. When Malik Nabers and Jalen Hyatt and Darius Slayton, he's got all the talent in the world to throw the ball deep downfield. And then you have the offensive line, which I think will see marginal improvements at the very least. More time in the pocket, give him an opportunity to get rid of the football a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently. I do think that it's going to be one of the more positives for him this year. His deep ball will come back. I think that he will see massive improvements in that regard. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what massive improvement means to most people. But more time in the pocket, better receiving talent, those two things should result in that. Now, if it doesn't happen, that's a different story. But I am, in terms of positivity, that is where I'm looking. More efficient deep passes, lots of opportunities to make explosiveness happen downfield. And that's kind of where I think he will make the most impact.
I think that's a really good call out. We haven't talked about Daniel Jones' deep ball and his ability to throw downfield a lot over the past couple of seasons, because after 2022, even in 2022, they weren't necessarily hitting a ton of deep shots. But I do remember, you're completely right, Alex, when we would discuss 2019, 2020, and 2021 in the games that he played, and sure, those were some tough years for the Giants, but Daniel Jones had some of the most accurate measures on deep passing. Like, I remember one of those seasons, he had like a 98 PFF 20-plus yard passing grade. Like, he was mighty accurate when throwing the ball downfield. We just have been pushing for 5 years to get him to throw the ball downfield more. Can he start taking more of those deep opportunities and showing off his accuracy downfield? And I think this year, with Brian Daboll calling the plays, we'll get some more of those deep shots. So that is the reason for optimism. That's the reason to believe that Daniel Jones can bounce back and have a good season, because he's accurate throwing the deep ball, and he's got an offensive coordinator that loves to push their quarterbacks to throw the deep ball. So that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get that Daniel Jones bounce back season. I know everybody thinks that we hate the guy and we're always down on him. Listen, we might not be super confident in him, but we don't hate him. It's all love here. He's a New York Giant, so we want to see the guy succeed. We want to see him hoist the Lombardi Trophy. That's all I've ever wanted for him. And I'm just hoping that this is the year he does it. And if not, well, probably got to find someone who can do it. But that's a story for another day. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball, Alex. Let's talk about Deonte Banks. Let's talk about this secondary. Because I'll say that's not necessarily a reason for optimism for me, but I am optimistic about some of the individuals in the secondary. As a whole, the unit scares me, like the absolute crap out of me. I think there's a lot of reason to be concerned with it. But Tyler Nubin, exciting young player. Deonte Banks, exciting young player. Andrew Phillips looked great this summer. Exciting young rookie. And Jason Pinnock entering his second season as a starter. What are you seeing in the secondary? I think that there are some nice pieces in there. It's just about developing them. But I'll tell you what, Alex, and I'll let you take it from here. The thing that I think is going to make these young defensive backs develop is a new, simplified defensive scheme by Shane Bowen.
Yeah, they're not going to be blitzing as much as they used to. They're not going to be doing all these sorts of, special shiny things. It's going to be, dude, use your strengths. Be a ball hawk, Tyler Nubin. Dane Belton, help in the run. He was a hard hitter coming out of Iowa, really solid in zone coverage, really good at reading the quarterback's eyes. He just doesn't have the speed and coverage qualities to man up a lot of times, but he doesn't really have to. Deonte Banks, go be a CB1. Your job is simple. Guard the top opposing receiver and do it at a high level. So, it's going to be trial by fire for a lot of these guys. Like, they have to step up, have to play well. But most of all, stay healthy. The Giants' number one problem, aside from some bad coaching, at times has been their lack of health. You cannot develop if you are not on the football field. You cannot take steps forward if you're not practicing. Being tested, having bad games is what helps players have good games, because you can't have good games without a couple of bad games and learning experiences. Every player has it. So, I think that when it comes to Deonte Banks, Tyler Nubin, whether it's Nick McLeod, whether it's anybody, at the end of the day, it really does come down to being healthy, being on the football field, being tested, and testing what you've been doing over the course of the summer. So, yeah, Tyler Nubin, I think that they are projecting him and Belton to split some first string reps early in the season, but it's Tyler Nubin's job. Like, let's not beat around the bush. Like, they drafted Tyler Nubin to be the starting free safety. Dane Belton's just been there for a while. He's filling kind of that, like, Julian Love role, and long-term, I think, as being, like, that kind of supplement, but obviously Love was a better player. Goes on to have a good season, and I think he's a captain now with the Seahawks. So, you kind of look at what the Giants tried. and he got paid big money too. So, Julian Love was a very solid player, and I think that we miss his versatility a lot. They wanted Dane Belton to be that cheaper supplement, and at this point in time, I don't think he's lived up to the hype just yet. But Tyler Nubin, I do visualize as being the long-term free safety for this team.
Yeah, me too. But like you just said, like if we can get Julian Love similar production out of Dane Belton, if he can start playing that number of snaps and playing solid enough to be a versatile utility piece, that's awesome. Like I will sign me up for that. Fourth round pick in Dane Belton, not a guy that you have a ton of expectations for when you draft, but if he can develop into being a versatile chess piece in your defensive lineup, fills in at cornerback, fills in at safety, plays here and there in those nickel and dime packages, sign me up for that. I love a player that has that kind of versatility on the back end of a defense. So I'm hoping to see a lot of Dane Belton this season, and I'm hoping to see a lot of Tyler Nubin. I think Nubin, when you really look at his stats and what he accomplished in his collegiate career, I mean, he was an absolute superstar for 5 years in Minnesota, and he was the best safety in this draft class, easily. The Giants on Hard Knocks made it clear they wanted a cornerback in round 2. They couldn't get one, but they were more than happy to take Tyler Nubin. He is going to do so much for this defense, just being a stable presence back there and developing. The Giants have a tremendous hit rate on second-round safeties. Landon Collins in 2016, I think it was, or no, 2015 it was. And then obviously Xavier McKinney in 2020 or 21. I'm getting my years mixed up. But still, the Giants have hit on a couple of these second-round safeties. I'm hoping Tyler Nubin can be the next one up. I really love the talent that he brings to this team. And I got to say, I think that when you're looking at Tyler Nubin's ability to get his hands on the football with all the career interceptions that he had in Minnesota, I think that he could force a couple turnovers this season. But you know who else is going to force turnovers this season, Alex? Oh, baby. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, and I'm going to take it a step further. Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden. Now, that's a front seven right there. I think I listed 5 players, but the front seven for the New York Giants is really exciting. How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling excellent about the front 7, the front 4. Listen, when I look at this defensive line, I know we were just talking about the rankings. PFF have them at 18th. I think that's freaking crazy. I think they're much better than that. You add Brian Burns, one of the best pass rushers in the game, next to Dexter Lawrence, and a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau who's going to be asked to do a lot less, or really just do a lot more with a lot less attention. I think that this could be a top 5 unit. I really do. I think they have the upside to be a top 5 unit. It just have to stay healthy, build chemistry, and dominate. Like, play their best football. There are not many offensive lines that can handle a group like this. And I think, even Elijah Chapman, really solid young pass rusher, is going to get some opportunities. I think Raheem Nunez-Roche probably starts the season at DT2. But Burns, we're talking about a double-digit sack guy most season. We're talking about a guy who only has one injury in his career, knock on wood. Kayvon Thibodeau has had really big games, but it's been volatile. So I do think that it just really has to be health, another health situation, most important thing for this Giants team, and just building synergy and chemistry. Like, it might be a little slow out of the gate. Dexter Lawrence will dominate interior as he usually does, but I think that him and Brian Burns, like, learning how to work alongside each other in live action, maybe it'll take a couple of weeks. They're not going to be mid-season form right away. But I do think that long-term, there's a reason the Giants have Burns, Kayvon on long-term contracts, and Kayvon Thibodeau still has 3 more years left on his rookie deal. So this unit over the long term could be a really, really, really talented one that has as much upside as anyone in the game. And it just comes down to getting reps together. So I'm excited to see them continue to compound that growth, have good days, and dominate, because they need to dominate. The secondary is going to have some problems this year for sure, and they need that defensive front, that pass rush to hit home, because if they don't, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the secondary, and I don't think they can handle it. So I'm really looking forward to that pass rush really doing some damage this year.
Me too. I think that this is going to be a really fun pass rushing unit to watch, and kind of like you said there, the sooner that the ball gets out of the hands of the quarterback, the better, because we do have our question marks in the secondary. We have our players that we're optimistic about, but we've got our question marks, but those players are going to look better because the defensive line is going to look good. So, Alex, this has pretty much turned into like a season preview of the roster, which is a lot of fun. Hey, we wanted to be optimistic about the whole thing. Why limit ourselves to 3 reasons of optimism? Why should we do that? Let's be optimistic about all of these players, because honestly, I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm sure you can. I'm just excited for football to be back. I'm excited to watch the Giants play this weekend. I'm excited to watch my Ravens play on Thursday Night Football, baby. I'm so excited for football. But Alex, before we wrap, what else has you optimistic? Anything else that we didn't touch on just yet that's got you optimistic for the 2024-25 season for the Giants? And actually, before I actually hand it back to you, It's a 100th year, man. Like, that's the reason to be optimistic. Like, if there were ever to be a season where stars aligned and something cool and historic happens, it's got to be in year 100. So I'm just hoping that the Giants, and honestly, this is like straight up as deep from my heart as a fan, please do not disappoint me in year 100. Like, there are so many fans who have gone through so much for so long. We're trying to celebrate this year, the 100th season of the New York Giants franchise. That's got to be the motivating factor for Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, and every single one of the players on this roster to succeed this season. So, Alex, what other reasons are you optimistic?
I mean, listen, the truth is that there's a lot of guys that are up against the wall right now. Joe Shane, Brian Daboll, they have to have a good season. So they got nothing. They got everything to lose. They also, guys like Daniel Jones, nothing to lose but everything to gain. I do think that at the moment they have to step up and play well because their backs are against the wall. They're like, they got to get scrappy, man. Like, they have to fight because some of these guys will not be here next year if they don't. This is their last opportunity. Years, deficiencies, progress, regression, like, they have to perform now. There's no time to waste, in my opinion. So, you put guys against the wall. You force them to try to step up and fight. Now's the time to get scrappy. Now's the time to be physical. Now's the time to leave it all on the football field. And, now's the time to play your best ball because at the end of the day, this could be it for guys like Brian Daboll. This could be it for Daniel Jones. Everything to gain from this season. So have to play well, have to be efficient, disciplined, great decision making, and most of all, consistent because volatility is not sustainable in the NFL. You have to be consistent. That's the number one thing I'm looking forward to this year. And these guys certainly have something to fight for, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I think Brian Daboll, he won't go down without putting up a fight, baby. He's going to go into the season and he's going to try and punch the teeth out of every team that he can and save his job and reinstill confidence into ownership that he is the right head coach and make sure that he doesn't get cut loose early before his contract ends. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be a fun year. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. I just watched the hype video that Fireside Giants is posting on Instagram later today. Go follow us if you're not, because this video, it's going to get you hyped. You're going to run through some walls today, all right? We're going to make you run through walls all season long with our social media content. So I'm just excited, man. It's going to be a lot of fun watching football tonight, having some beers. Can't wait. So sign me up for another 17 weeks of commercial-free football on Red Zone and all that stuff, New York Giants game days. I am too hyped. But that pretty much wraps this one up. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode of Fireside Giants powered by BetUS. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.